Hi, people of the Philippines and people of the world. Hit the button below. And you will be subscribing to the Boy Abunda Talk channel on YouTube. Let's keep talking.
Magkikita pa ba tayo pagkatapos nito?
Uuwi na tayo. Ngayon na.
At saan naman tayo pupunta? Dito kami mamamatay ng daddy mo.
Nagtatapang-tapangan ka! Anak niyo po ako, Dad! I am your son!
Alsa tayo dito. Natatakot na ako eh.
Saan ka natatakot? Sabihin mo nga sa akin, masama ba akong tao?
Producing Made in Malacanang is not new to you.
No, it's not. I'm really an old hand sa pagpo-produce. Ako'y parating secret producer ng kung ano-anong sine. At actually, itong taon na to, 40th year ng Himala. It's been a
And
long
Oro Plata
time.
Mata.
And Oro Plata Mata.
40th year also.
Oo nga, tama. Oo, see that? Sa dinami-dami ng sine, animation, cartoons, comic books, kung ano-anong pinapasukan ko on the side, kasi may secret career ako sa pagiging artista. This movie is different because it's the first time it's our story. That's the reason it's really not the same as any other movie that I've ever done before.
How did this happen? How did you find Darryl?
Essentially, ang nangyari nito, bago mag-eleksyon, talagang kampanya na. So, I've never done much social media. Hinahayaan ko lang siya. Pero nung eleksyon, sabi ko, ito na yung itutulong ko. Manggugulo lang ako sa social media. And then, after the election, di tapos na, wala nang politika. Sabi ko, wala na akong career bilang artista. Ano bang gagawin natin? Tara, gawa tayo ng sine. Sabi ko, anong sine? Kalokohan lang, nag-umpisa sa biruan. And then, people started taking it seriously. And so now, we're very nervous. Naging malaking storya na dahil very controversial nga naman. Darryl determined and started tormenting me to tell him stories about the last 72 hours in Malacanang.
Okay.
And sabi ko nga sa kanya, hindi naman masaya nun eh. Ano ba? Ba't mo pinipilit na ulitin ko? Parang dinaanan ko ulit. And then there was a lot of interest. Pagkatapos yung mga artista nagvo-volunteer na halos. So we suddenly got a blockbuster cast. Tonto ako sa cast namin kasi hindi ko makakalain na Cesar Montano, Rufa, Christine. They're awesome. They're really, really good. And very committed, kahit nababash.
Okay, sabi mo nga, this is different from the other movies that you produced in the past because this is your story. But before we go to your story, I want to go back to your theater experience.
Well, I met you
Yeah.
backstage in the
Right.
Metropolitan Theater.
I know.
When you were the super alalay of
Right.
super lady of the theater,
Tita
Kunching
Kunching, I was
Sunico.
literally the bag lady and I was the boy of the
Of
grand
all of us, of all of us.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
we needed, we
Tita
had to
Kunching, yeah, I know.
call you.
But before that, the Metropolitan Theater, when it was renovated, opened with a children's theater called Munting Alamat,
Tama.
which you produced.
That's right.
Which was directed by Chito Ronyo.
By Chito Ronyo, that's correct.
You remember that?
Yeah, that was
okay?
fun.
But what I have not forgotten is you did Santo Juana ng mga koral as an actor.
Oo nga.
What do you remember?
Alam mo, opening din yun. Opening ng Little Theater, ng Cultural Center.
What were you thinking during that time? You wanted a theatrical career? Was that a fascination? And why Santo Juana ng mga koral?
I started really young. I was 11 years old. I loved the theater in Assumption pa with Susan Calo Medina.
Medina.
She was our theater teacher. And I was so serious. And she was appalled at my being so serious kasi ayoko mag-miss ng rehearsal. Ayoko nalilate. At minsan nalate ako o maa-absent ako. My father was furious. He said, we're opening some bridge or other that's major infra. You'd better be there because it's a commitment of the entire family, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, then you better call my teacher because I'm not absent for rehearsal. Nako, ganon. So Susan was absolutely freaked out. This is the palace po. Si Presidente, kakausapin po kayo. My daughter will be absent. Sabi ni Susan, ano ba to? Bakit ka ganyan? What is your problem? I was so deathly serious about the theater.
Okay. And then the Metropolitan Theater did Hecuba, the Trojan Women, Angie Ferro,
Angie Ferro, Pinky De Leon.
Pinky De Leon, Luis,
And
Andromache.
Andromache. I had this baby this whole time.
Played
right?
by Imee Marcos. How was that? How was that experience working with, everybody from Angie to Luis to Tony?
I learned a lot because the actresses with me were so magaling. So
So-
from the theater, ano nangyari, it's Munting Alamat that sort of clicked the whole thing. Ang nangyari, because I was involved with Kabataan Barangay, and then yung Munting Alamat, and I started doing also, Dularawan pa, opening of the big theater. Kasama rin kami ni Alex doon, and then yung mga bata. Ang nangyari, I moved almost naturally into television. Children's TV, because I wanted to communicate with kids. That was my job. So I ended up with Kaluskos Musmos, with Herbert Bautista, Maricel Soriano. All these guys are now really stalwarts of film. And thereafter, we had the Batibot, which brought over, for the first time, Sesame Street, outside of New York. So we invented two characters, Kikong Maching, Pong Pagong. Yun. So I ended up being what my father called the purveyor of popular entertainment, because I love comics, I love cartoons, and I love television, and pop music is great. I mean, later on, I had the dubious qualification of having produced the first hip-hop movie, yung Pintakasi. Yeah, because I like that.
On the
sort of
side,
thing.
you had Metropop.
Eh, kasi di ba it's part and parcel? Wala naman sine na walang soundtrack eh.
Correct.
Oo, mas madaling magbenta nun.
And then, huwag natin kalimutan ang experimental cinema of the Philippines. Kung saan napakaraming mga pelikula na magpahanggang sa ngayon ay bahagi ng ating kwentuhan,
Oo
ng
nga,
ating
ano ba
conversation.
yan?
And we're talking about Himala, Oro Plata Mata. Paano nabuo ang experimental cinema of the Philippines? Dahil sa napakaraming mga pelikula na na-produce nito.
Alam mo, nakakatawa kasi, yung mga magulang ko, yung tatay ko, obsessed sa pelikula yan. Ang hilig-hilig sa sine. Nakakatuwa kasi parang feeling niya may utang na loob siya sa iginuhit ng tadhana. Say mo, paano, nung tatakbo siyang presidente, parang siyang sinisiraan. Tapos si Doc Vera Perez decided that it was time to make a movie of his life. So they made Iginuhit ng Tadhana with Luis Gonzalez and Gloria Romero. And it was going to be premiered na TRO, sumikat yung sine. So nandun lahat, nakabongga, naka-long dress lahat, barong, todo, naka-mic program and everything. And then they couldn't show the movie. So of course, alam mo naman Pilipino, ayaw ng ganon, pinagpilitan na talagang panoorin. At yun, pumatok yung sine, and he felt that it turned the tide for him when he really had very little chance of winning at the beginning. And then sabi niya, parang dahil doon, na intindihan ng tao kung bakit siya ang dapat ihalal. Because of that, he knew the power of cinema.
Alright.
He knew that it could convince people, it could change minds, it could transform the landscape. So, after that, nagsimula dun sa sunod-sunod na pag-outsource ng mga Hollywood movies. If you recall, the late, great Sergio Santiago,
Of course.
sina Eddie Romero,
Of course.
all of them, right, were doing B-movies,
In the US.
all the
I
double
was-
feature. Quentin Tarantino came over, he
Okay.
recognized all these mga vampira, and all these things. And they would be shot in Ilocos, for example, or Subic or Clark. And then papadala sa US. Or else, ang ginagawa naman, lahat ng studio, yung mga session musicians natin, sila ang titira ng soundtrack. And then papadala sa America because a full orchestra would cost the earth for 2 hours in the US. So, malaking racket para sa mga musikero rin natin noon. After that, sa amin lang, since we're already servicing, as it were, the Hollywood industry, ano kaya gumawa tayo ng original content?
Who was saying this?
My dad. He said, let's make more money for Filipinos. Let's just have original copyright.
Okay.
Let's have our own IP, which is a very modern thing to do because that's what we're trying to do now. Eh, gawa na tayo ng sine natin. And my mom said, oh nga, we have stories to tell. Yun, nabuo yung experimental cinema.
How were you
Ang
assigned
title.
there? I mean, did mom and dad say, you take care of?
Oh, ikaw na muna. Because nobody was like,
Okay.
what are we gonna do with this? And I'm like, I'll just take a stab at it. Nobody wanted to touch it. Kasi ano ba yan?
So when you were doing films like Scorpio Nights, how were they reacting?
Well, everyone's like, well, that was a big thing because I insisted that there would be no censorship in the experimental
Because today it's a
cinema.
classic.
Kaya nga eh.
Oo. But when you look back, yung lahat ng naipalabas, yung output ng experimental cinema of the Philippines, how proud are you?
Well, I'm proud of everyone who worked for me. Ang daming sumikat eh. Ako napadpad sa politika. Parang nalugi yata ako. Mas okay yung sa kanila. But you don't fight destiny. Here we are.
That's true. And now we're ready to talk about Made in Malacanang. Tell me what you can. What is the movie about?
Well, the movie's The Other Side of EDSA. I'm not trying to rewrite history or revise anybody's version. Ang akin lang, ang totoo, wala naman ako sa EDSA. Kaya sa totoo lang, wala akong K na pag-usapan ng EDSA. Ang karapatan
Saan ka may
ko,
K?
May K ako sa Malacanang. Wala sila sa Malacanang eh. Ako nasa Malacanang. So, yung other side naman, yung kabilang banda nun, na ano yung nangyayari sa Malacanang, ano yung mga negosasyon, ano yung tensyon sa loob ng pamilya, yun ang maikikwento ko kasi nandun ako.
Okay, so this is about the last 72 hours
Yes.
that you spent in the palace.
That's correct. So, it's by and large in spirit and in much of the dialogue almost verbatim. Although, of course, Darryl being Darryl is always provocative and disturbing and annoying. But of course, there's always license, no? For the writer and the director, it's not a reenactment. It's a work of fiction or whatever, a work of cinema. We follow the timeline.
Okay.
Largely, the timeline is followed almost...
It's based on an untold truth.
22 to 23. Totoo naman, untold, kasi hindi naman kami nagkikwento, no?
Okay.
Kasalanan din namin sa isang banda dahil natameme naman kami ng napakahabang panahon, no?
So when you say kasalanan ninyo, Senator,
In a
bakit
sense-
hindi nyo ikunento?
I think kasi bugbog sarado na kami. Parang hindi ka pa nakakapagsalita, inupakan ka na, edi nobody's ready to listen. Edi wag muna, tameme muna, quiet muna. At wala, sinasaloob na lang namin yung
And you feel this is the right time?
Ngayon kasi, ang kabataan, walang ginawa kundi magtanong. Iba kasi yung millennial, yung Gen Z, this really is the age of information. And there appears to be a lack of information about this specific point in time. And nagtatanong sila, ano ba nangyari? And I feel an obligation to tell my story and our story in the same way that I think every Filipino should. I'm not in the business, like I said, yung alam of starting an argument. I want to start a conversation. A national conversation that reveals to everyone exactly what happened to us. And with that, we can move forward. Surely, that's more important. Yung alam nung iba, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, wala naman ako dun sa EDSA. So, wala naman akong karapatan magsabi na mali yung sinabi nila, na hindi tama yun. Yung alam ko lang yung sinasabi ko, yung alam ng pamilya namin, yung dinaranas ng mga tao sa Malacanang, yung nangyari dun sa loob, yun lang ang masasabi ko.
It's a very
kasi
personal
nandun ako.
story.
Oo, kaya nga.
During that time, people would talk about how fond your father was of you. But people would say that there was some friction between you and your mother.
Yes, that's right. My mom was really a troubled relationship in the very beginning. Unang-una, it became very tense for a very simple reason. Lahat nagsasabi, hindi mo kamukha yung nanay mo. Sabi ko, oo nga eh. Tapos, naiinis ako, nagagalit ako. Bandang huli, natawa na ako. Pag sinabi na sa akin, hindi mo naman kasi kamukha yung nanay mo, no? Sasabihin ko, bakit? Sino bang kamukha ng nanay ko? Nag-iisa na napakagandang tao sa buong mundo yan. Wala namang kamukha yung nanay ko, no? I think it was very difficult. And my mother and I are not the same sa ugali. I feel like all the Ilocano traits seem to have come to me. Very nerdy, very hardworking. But as time passes, you realize that you are becoming that person in a way. Firstly, my undying commitment to the arts, to Filipino artists.
You got it from
Parang
there.
syempre, siya yun, ano? It's definitely from that side of the family. And that resilience. the unsinkable Imelda. Isn't that what I think? I mean, welcome yung mga utak bagyo, yung tapang tuba. Where does that come from?
All right.
So I'm wondering.
But-
so as time has passed,
Okay.
I begin to get her, learn from her, and the real worry is I might become her.
Was that a pressure? I mean, not looking like mom.
Yeah, no,
Because
it's a big
everybody
deal
would tell
when I
you.
was small.
Do you know, I remember now, there were also talks that you were not actually the daughter.
Oh yes, but that
you're aware
was
of
part
this?
of the political.
Okay.
lie
Got nothing to
that-
do with you not looking like mom.
You know, the Romualdeses were so many. We're so many. Parang kaming barahan na sinapol. Kasi there are things that come out in me and come out in someone else. It's very funny. So na-mix up kami ng todo-todo. Yung pagkatisoy, konti-konti lang. Yung lighter eyes, ako, that's the one and only thing I achieved. But yes, the political bitchery is
Yeah.
awful.
And there were so many things, like our president now, Bongbong Marcos, is not the real Bongbong Marcos.
Yeah,
you heard
with
about
Victor
that?
Wood, and that he died, and then he got changed in England. Yeah.
How did you guys react to all those?
You know, it's very weird, and it's not, it's probably not the healthiest thing to say, pero nasanay na kami.
Oh,
At a
but
certain
you guys
point,
learned how to brush them off.
Yeah, you start,
Little Amy was your daughter.
yeah, that's right.
It
yeah,
also
yeah.
came out.
Yeah, she's actually the daughter of a cousin.
No,
yeah.
I mean, now it's known, now that she's able to talk about it. But during that time, these were all talked about in whispers.
Yes, that's right. I suppose my father felt that it was no one's business.
That's
and
right.
it's really not necessary to embarrass other people. You know, the difficult thing is about being in politics is dinadamay mo yung buong pamilya mo na wala namang kamuang-muang, hindi naman sila kasali. Nadamay-damay sila. I guess it's like showbiz, right?
Now, let me just go back to, I think, an interview you did, and you were asked about how excited you were about being back in the palace. And you were quoted to have said that it's not so much about going back to the palace as opposed to having the opportunity to clear the legacy of
That's
your
right.
father. Talk
Yeah.
about it.
The legacy, I think we've been immensely lucky. This is a godsend. This is heaven sent that a second chance has been given to my family. And perhaps this is the chance we have to review my father's legacy. That after all, hindi naman masama lahat ng ginawa. Hindi naman mabuti lahat. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na walang pagkakamali. Pero makikita natin kung ano yung nag-work. Halimbawa, yung charity. Ngayon, pagkatapos ng COVID, ang dami-daming malnourished. I mean, Samar, ayan na, Caraga, Barm, the Cordillera region. We really need to help them. So there are things that really work. Infrastructure, we're right back to where we started with my father, with build, build, build. So now we have build, build, build 2.0. It's important that we catch up with the rest of the region. We're so far behind.
Okay. I just want to raise 2 points. Recently, I think you proposed a bill that would give your brother, the president, the power to, this is about fuel taxes.
Yes.
And then he had pronouncements that he was not going to get into, canceling some taxes. The other one is that one of your pet bills, which is the creation of the Bulacan Special Economic Zone, which he vetoed.
That's right.
There seems to be a different dynamic between the two of you. What are we seeing?
I told you we are an ordinary family, but we're also a special family. Trabaho lang, walang personalan. Ang nangyari sa Bulacan, nalito ako dun eh. Actually, I was kind of surprised by that because it was very well studied. As a matter of fact, it was a unanimous vote in the Senate. Strangely, for the first time, the minority, everyone voted for it. So, it was very, very peculiar also. Ang akin lang kasi, tignan siguro natin all these eco zones, what the policy is, because if we don't get foreign investment, we won't get jobs. And we know that after the pandemic, the most urgent thing is to come back kicking.
Right.
Bring back the economy and start providing jobs for all those who have lost their jobs, yung mga namamasada. Sobrang lugi na kasi lockdown ng lockdown, paano magmamasada? Yung mga arawan, saan nakukuha yan? Naku, talagang yung piecework, wala na rin. So anybody who's going to come in with foreign or local investment, for me, dapat full support, kahit sino pa yan, kahit Ramon Ang, Bilyar, Go Kung Wei, kahit anong apelyido, naku, dapat tulungan natin. Dahil
What
sa
about the
jobs.
suspension of the value-added tax on
On petrol.
petroleum?
Yes. Siguro, sa tanang buhay ko, hindi ko pa nakikita yung panahon na nagtumabla yung diesel at saka
Okay.
gasolina. This is a really shocking,
Ngayon,
confusing
tumaas.
time. Kaya nga, saan ka nakakita?
diesel, oo.
So, kawawang-kawawa yung mga magsasaka natin, yung mga fisher folk sa Region 8. Nako, what will they do? There's just no diesel.
But did you get the sense
And
of
so-
why your brother was reacting otherwise?
I think my brother was not reacting to me.
yeah,
He was
right.
reacting to something that I agreed with totally. And that is
That's right.
that excise taxes, kasi ang sabi noon, tanggalin lahat ng excise tax. Pagpapasok ng gasolina, tanggalin lahat. Ako, agree ako sa kanya. 100% dahil pag tinanggal mo yung excise tax, ang makikinabang dyan yung mga big time. All the big players are the ones who are buying what? 60, 70%? Yung maliliit, small time lang yan, di ba? So wag yung excise taxes kasi wala naman tayong pang-ayuda, wala tayong pang-subsidy kapag wala tayong koleksyon. So excise taxes wag. Pero yung VAT, baka pwede yun. So yung bill ko ay tungkol sa VAT.
Okay.
And I think that maybe the VAT can be automatically suspended kapag it breaches a certain amount. Pag umabot na ng
Okay.
napakamahal, automatic na para hindi bumabalik sa Congress. Kasi take so long di ba? When you go to Congress, ang hirap yung mga tao umiiyak na, nakapila na sa gasolinahan, babalik pa sa Congress, magdedebate pa kami, aakyat pa sa Senado, napaka-long playing. So gusto ko sana, kung it breaches a certain price, automatic na papakialaman na ng Presidente.
In
We
case-
delegate the taxing power.
In cases like this, does the ate and you come into play?
We've talked a lot in the past and we have in common so many things. But I don't meddle. I will advise and I will say that you're wrong. I'll call you out pag mali. But I don't really meddle. I think we help as much as we
Okay.
can. I have a job in the Senate.
You're aware that I think one of the most polarized political setup is in this country. Ito'y nakita ho natin
Bakit?
sa eleksyon. Magandang tanong, bakit? I raised this because you spoke about conversation.
Yep.
Ayoko makipag-away. I want a conversation.
Oo.
But how do you behave, Senator, in a political situation where, a conversation is almost impossible?
Yeah, it happens. Trabaho ko yan di ba nasa Senate ako? Araw-araw,
Yeah.
wala kaming ginawa.
You have 24
Araw-araw na
republics.
linikha ng Diyos.
Oo.
Talagang debate ng debate, argumento ng argumento. At the end of the day, the best argument really wins. But the important thing is that everyone is heard. Everyone is consulted. And even if you don't come out with a unanimous decision, a consensus is derived. And then it's much stronger.
In the Senate.
And you have the best law.
Right.
Kasi hindi mo naman pwedeng sabihin at ibabaliwala mo si Senator Frank Drilon noon. Hindi mo naman pwedeng ibaliwala si Kiko Pangilinan kapag agrikultura. So these are the things that are very important. You need to hear them.
Are you going to invite the senators to watch Made in Malacanang?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, bakit hindi, di ba? Then we can debate about it again.
But please invite Senator everybody to just come and watch the movie.
Yes, everyone, please come and watch the movie. I think we're premiering on the 29th of July. Tapos,
August
magbubukas sa mga
3.
sinehan August 3. Ayan.
In
So,
theaters,
manood
not
kayo,
just in the
ah.
country, but around the world.
Oo nga, around the world ang
Sabi
taray.
nila.
May international release. Ano say mo? Paano yung mga OFW, very overwhelmingly want to watch and they helped us so much during the last election, my brother. So I think it's a little bit of payback that we bring the movie to them.
My last question is this. When your sons ask you for advice on love, what do you tell them?
What do I tell them?
Yeah.
They never ask me,
Because that should be interesting.
No, it's a very weird system. The three brothers vet each other
Oh.
long before it gets to mom. Because I already told them from the very beginning, kung sinong iuuwi ninyo at magiging asawa, makakasundo ko yan. Kasi ayoko maging lonely sa pagtanda. Papakisamahan ko ng bonggang-bongga kung sino yung asawa ninyo. So they like, yeah, whatever. Mom said that she's just gonna put up with anyone. So I see them, di ba? Kasi, di ba?
Right.
Pag kaaway mo yung daughter-in-law mo, never mo na makikita yung anak mo. So, yun. Sila nagbebet ng mga girlfriend nila.
No, but that's different. That makes a lot of sense. Wala akong magiging problema
Oo.
sa inyong mga partners.
Oo, bahala kayo dyan.
Pakikisamahan ko sila lahat.
Oo.
Because I want to be happy.
I want to be happy at hindi ako magiging lonely, hindi ako magmumaktol sa bahay na mag-isa. Okay? Kasi I'm waray. And we need to be happy. Ganon.
Oo. Maraming salamat, Senator.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next on The Interviewer.
As a person, saan ka nasasaktan? At saan ka napipikon? The other day, I saw your photo with Mayor Joy Belmonte. Kayo ba'y nag-usap? Kayo ba'y nagkabate? Did you apologize? Now that you're doing Made in Malacanang, ikaw ba'y nanggagalit pa rin? Nagpapapansin pa rin? Nang provoke pa rin?
I want to hurt people talaga.
The Interviewer.
Hi, people of the Philippines and people of the world. Hit the button below. And you will be subscribing to the Boy Abunda Talk channel on YouTube. Let's keep talking.